Okay, today I'm going to change the starter in my 86 Magna VF 700. This is my new or used starter I got off of eBay, guaranteed. And they even send a little tag with it, tell me what it goes on. So I know it's the right starter, but if you buy something off of eBay or used a part, you need to check and make sure it spins in the right direction, because I think it's Mitsuba, I think, is the maker of these starters, and they make them for all different kinds of motorcycles, and they all look the same. And some motorcycles it spins clockwise, and others it spins counterclockwise. This one I've already checked; it spins counterclockwise, which is correct for this motorcycle. The starter that's in it is spinning in the wrong direction because somebody replaced it and didn't check it first. So I took the side cover off, hit the starter, and immediately knew it was not spinning in the right direction because the starter clutch does not engage. So anyhow, stay tuned. I'm going to post this video, how to change it, where to, there's only 3 screws holds it on. Actually, it's only 2 screws holds it on if you don't count the one for the battery terminal. And then maybe I'll rebuild that other starter to get it to spin in the right direction, and I'll do a video on that. Okay, first off, it's a lot easier if you have one of these, motorcycle jack, but if you don't and you're really skinny, you can probably squeeze under there and get to the starter without the jack. It helps if it's on the center stand for sure. I really don't like laying in the dirt, but I need to go inside, change my shirt for sure. I'll be back in a little while. Okay, order number 1, disconnect the negative battery terminal before you start messing with the starter cable. That's a big wire, carries a lot of current. You don't want it to be touching anything, so disconnect this negative post. Okay, this is what we're going to be changing, is this little guy right here. Starter's on the other side. You must drain the oil before you start this, or you'll end up with a garage floor full of oil, because the starter is a seal into the bottom of the pan. So when you pull that starter out, you're going to have a gush of oil unless this engine is empty. Alright, this is the starter. This is what they call an idler. This is the starter clutch. It only turns in one direction, and if you try to spin it the other way, it'll just freewheel. If the starter turns it in the right direction, it'll actually crank the motor in a clockwise direction. So you can look at the gears and say clockwise, counterclockwise, clockwise, counterclockwise. So this bike needs a starter that spins counterclockwise. This guy is spinning in the wrong direction. Okay, so I'm on the left side of the motorcycle, and the starter is right in under there. First you need to take out the oil filter. It's going to get in the way because you can't pull the starter out with the oil filter in there. And in order to get access to these 2 bolts, you're going to have to remove this doofwachi. I don't know what the hell it is or what it does. It looks like exhaust gas return valve or something. Anyhow, there's 2 bolts on the bottom. Loosen those, push it out of the way, and you can get access to these 2 bolts that hold the starter in. Okay, you can see that bolt up there is a real pain to get to because there's so much stuff around it. You can't get a socket over the top because of that frame member right there, and no amount of extension can actually bend over that and reach that bolt. So I had to go purchase this Husky ratchet boxed in socket, in order to get that bolt out. So it's like a $2 investment, but it's worth it because you don't have a lot of play here. Okay, you get it finger tight or finger loose, and then you can take the rest of the way out. This is 8 millimeters. That's 8 millimeters. You can get a socket on that, so that's not a big problem. Okay, now it's an 8 millimeter socket. Okay, if you don't have metric, it's very close to 5/16. So 5/16 will probably work in here. However, the one on top, the one that I had the wrench on, you're not gonna get it off with a 5/16. So anyhow, let's just speed this up some. Okay, that guy up there, it's gonna be a pain. Actually, I think what I'll do is I'll put the socket on the end of it so I'll have something to grab onto. Okay, that's better with the socket stuck on the end of it. I can actually get my fingers on it and get a good grip. Okay, a very long bolt. Hey, finally. Okay, save those right down here so you don't lose them, and then start to wiggle. Down. Hey. Okay, wiggling's not doing it, so I'm almost to shake the motorcycle off the stand. So here, I found this little place where you can put a screwdriver between the frame or the engine block and the starter, and just kind of push and twist. And I think it's ready. Hey, there we go. Okay, gonna have to take just the right angle to get that out of there. Probably first I'll take the battery cable off. Not sure what metric that is, but SAE, it's a 13/32. Oh, and it's very easy. Come off. Take that off my hand. Yeah, once you get it loose, it comes right off. Okay. With the cable off and everything out of the way, it should just fall out. Yeah. There we go. Got it. Haha. There's the bad beast. It's not bad. It's just spinning in the wrong direction because it came off of the wrong motorcycle. We'll fix it later. I want to get this new one in there today. Okay, now observe. This is the one that was in the cycle that the previous owner put in there. This is the one I just got by the UPS truck. Look at them, they're identical. So it seems. This one spins clockwise, this one spins counterclockwise. I'll show you how to fix that. But first I want to seal up the motorcycle so I can oil it up and start it. Aha! This is left, so that kind of means he comes in from the left side. And that's correct. I bet you this one had a sticker on it that said right at once upon a time. Okay, got this out of the way. Got the replacement starter sitting up in there. I'm going to put the battery cable on back on there first because it's really hard to reach once it's installed. So let's get this back on. And then we can put the side plate back on. Oh, no, I got to go buy a gasket. That won't happen today. Okay, when you wiggle that back up in there, it probably doesn't want to go because the teeth are not meshing with the gears on the other side. So what you need to do is just twist, wiggle, push, push. It'll eventually line up and just slide right on in. And it's, you know, I fought with it for about a minute and it just jumped right in. So I've lost focus on this camera. Anyhow, it's up there. I just need to put the bolts in it and we're done. Okay, all done. See the bolts are in there nice and snug. And while I'm under here, I want to point out that the spark plugs are right in here, the two front ones. And the manual says if you want to change those plugs, you need to first remove the brackets that hold the bottom of the radiator and pull the radiator out, or at least out of the way. I think a good short socket with a swivel joint, you might be able to peel those out from the side here, from this angle. But I guess I'll find out. Okay, starter's in, and put the battery terminal back on. Oop. Yeah. Oh, it's not very good, but it works. Okay. This guy didn't come with a key. There we go, lights on. Starter, yep, okay. Now let's make sure that we're going clockwise with the crank. Yep, we got it, problem solved. Okay, now this beast. These guys have a coil inside and a set of permanent magnets. Okay, so the brushes are set in such a way that when the coil in the armatures are lined up with a particular set of magnets, they will spin in one direction. The only thing you need to do really is to rotate the brushes so that it contacts a different set of coils in the armature so that it spins in the other direction. And that positioning is exactly 90 degrees from where it is when it's manufactured. So I'm going to take this guy apart and see if I can't do that. Okay, I got the screws loose, but I want to point out if you look at the side body, you can see that there's a factory mark right there and right there. I've actually scratched the paint in order to make it more visible, but there's a factory little dimple and another one there on the back cover. So you want to make sure those line back up when you put the guy back together. Probably not a bad idea to actually scratch the front two pieces too. Take them out, set them over here safe, and then just wiggle, wiggle, and the back comes off. But there you have your brushes. So that's what we're going to move. Okay, now I'm going to pull the brushes up off the armature and try to push the armature out the other side, like that. And the magnets are keep pulling it back in. So I'm going to have to put the phone down and get this finished, but basically just pull it on the way out. Okay, when you get the brush plate off, you'll see that two of these brushes are actually bonded to the metal plate, and the other two are actually attached inside. This is attached to the frame right here and here, and the other two come in off that stud that all right, got the this bracket off and got the oh, put the camera on the motor. I've stripped all the nuts and washers off of this, You need to save those washers because those are also insulators that keep this from touching the ground. So anyhow, I've done this already, so I'll just demonstrate what I've done. But I've already tried this once. But you pull this out, and my first attempt was to go 90 degrees this way and bore another hole. So I did that, and everything went just to plan, and I put it all back together, and it worked perfectly. With the stud coming out of this 90 degrees off from that hole. But when I put it in the motorcycle, this stud, which is now rotated 90 degrees, instead of being on the side, is on the top, which bumped against the frame. So after a few curse words and throwing things, I took it back apart, and I managed to do the same thing, rotate it 90 degrees, take the bolt out of here, put it back where it originally was. But let me show you, there's a plastic retainer inside that I had to bore another hole in that lined up with the original hole. So now I put it in there 90 degrees out of phase, but I put the stud in through this hole that I made here, and let me just do that. Goes through this plastic here, and actually clamps down on that positive ring for these other two brushes. So, and be sure to put your washers, your insulating washers, back on here so that it doesn't touch the frame, the ground. And so I'm going to do that now. Okay, I've got that all remounted back in the original hole. Put the insulating washers on it, and everything is stock except for brushes are rotated 90 degrees. And this is the fun part. In order to get these brushes back in there and slipped back on over the armature right here, it's going to fight you all the way. And so what I found is it's easier if you take these little springs. You can either take them completely off or unravel them to the point where they're hanging down on the other side, and then once you get the brushes installed and slip over the armature, you just re-engage the springs. This is the way I do it. Okay, here you can see that I've taken the springs which normally fit on the back side of this. I just unspun them, and they're just sitting on here now. And also notice right there's a little tab. You'll need to beat that tab out flat and mark it, because that's where the brushes originally went in, and you'll see a mark on the side of the starter that indicates where that goes. Right there. That little tab went in that hole, but now we're going to rotate it this way 90 degrees. So that will help you locate where you're supposed to go. And actually on the motor you can see that I have written clockwise or counterclockwise and clockwise on the side of the thing. So if I rotate that little tab right there to where I have written counterclockwise, the motor spins that way. Or I can rotate it this way 90 degrees and it'll spin clockwise. Okay, so here I'm putting it back together, and you can see that the brushes go in. I wish I had three hands. The brushes go in to the left holder to where they're actually mounted, and then the other two brushes, the positive side, come up through these slots right there. Okay, and when you get that all threaded back together, you rotate it to where you want it to go, and then seat it down, put the back cover on. Oh, no, first you have to re-engage these springs by twisting them around behind here. Okay, there's everything. Everything's engaged. The springs still need to be put in place, but the brushes are installed, and the armature's pushed up through. Now I find it's easier to get the brushes in the holders and before you put the the armature in, because you could have really strong opposing thumbs in order to hold that armature out of the way while you get the brushes in. So put the brushes in first and then slide the armature in from the other side. So there it is, all put back together. Sorry for the gaps in the video, but I need 2 hands in order to do this, and I had to put the camera down. I want to forget this. Okay. And I found, okay, that's what it should look like, all assembled. Actually, I cheated because I scratched both the body and the end plates on both ends. So I know how it goes back together. And I recommend you do that too. And now the acid test. Let's make sure it's spinning counterclockwise. That's right. Done. Okay, time to put the side plate back on this this beast, and I've cleaned the inside of the side plate as much as I can, and I scraped the gasket off very carefully, and then I went over that with some 500 grit, I think, or 600 grit sandpaper to kind of get all the old gasket off. And I need to do that also to this guy. I haven't sanded it yet, but I've scraped most of the stuff off. And then I've got some gasket material that I'm going to make a gasket from, and set that back on there.